ComedySlamRadio.com. From our studios to the world, we bring you the finest in quality entertainment. So pop some popcorn, grab a smooch buddy, and settle in for another fine show from ComedySlamRadio.com.
It's time for the Let's Be Frank show, where we get frank with your favorite celebrity and national touring comedians. Follow us on Twitter at Let's Be Frank Show, and if you miss our live broadcast on Comedy Slam Radio, find us on Stitcher Radio, Podomatic, and iTunes at Let's Be Frank's podcast. Keep laughing, my friends. Good evening, and welcome back to the Let's Be Frank show, the first show of the year. Happy New Year, Gwiggy.
Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year to all the fans. We are starting with a great show, even though you're here.
Yeah.
I'm bringing in the new year with Gwiggy, but we have comedian Corey Kahaney with us. How are you, Corey?
Good to be here.
Thank you very much for taking some time out. I know this is the reschedule of the original one. You had something pop up, and I think it was the end of last year in November or December we were going to do the show, but I was happy to get it rescheduled. and not only did she cancel, but she canceled with two names of people to fill in her spot. She's like, "Listen, Dave, I got to cancel, but here." And was it Wally?
It was Wally.
Nice. Collins, right? And I think you did that show with me as well.
Yeah.
So all class, all the way. She's like, "Dave, I got to cancel."
I'm glad Wally was good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was a great show. He was very entertaining, and he's got the He's got the website. You never know. There you go. Yeah. It was awesome. He's like, you never know. Everything. He was a really nice guy. But let's talk more about you.
Well, I also have a tagline. Like get her done.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
My tagline's long, but it's take my advice. I'm not using it.
Nice.
Now, how did you develop that?
I just realized how great I was at giving people advice in life based on so many of the mistakes that I've made. It takes a certain number of years. You have to be seasoned to have the knowledge and the wealth of life experience that I have. So, I'm a walking textbook of life lessons, like don't use your wife's credit card for your girlfriend's abortion. These are things just little things that you should know. And,
yes.
I'm always there.
So you didn't take that advice? You didn't use your credit card for your girlfriend's
maybe that's why she doesn't.
Maybe
that's why she's on a second
that
husband.
Personal experience or something.
Sometimes these are things that, I saw happen to a neighbor, a friend, an acquaintance, a sister, that kind of thing.
It was the sister.
Nice.
That's why she said that last. And with as much conviction, she's like, a sister. Let's be frank, it was a sister. So Corey, let's get into it. About 20 years ago, you get into comedy. What in the hell makes you decide to get into this whacked out business?
Well, it wasn't a smart move by any means. I have to tell you, I was a single mother. I had a Manhattan rent, and I had a corporate job with a corner office. I was, for 29, it was a pretty accomplished life I was living.
Oh,
I had
even 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of corporate job did you have? That sounds interesting.
I was director of catering for a major hotel, and so everyone who worked for me, I ran, all the conferences, all the catering, all the, catering sales. I did weddings. My hours were as crazy and horrible as they were, far worse than comedy. Sometimes I would have to be at work at 7, and I would be there until 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was really crazy. But I had this perfect storm was going on because some of the people that were on my staff, the guy who worked the coat check at Catch a Rising Star was working for me. The bartender at Dangerfields was working for me part-time. I was dating a comedian, and there was the universe was just screaming, this is what you should be doing. And, because everybody who worked for me was in show business, they were all telling me I should be a comedian. And I actually had this reputation of being the funniest woman in food service. And this is an interesting fact. Not a lot of people are looking for the funniest woman in food service. It wasn't an asset.
Nice.
So, I don't know. I remember what happened was I got fired from this job, and that's a whole story for another. It was just one of those crazy things. And in the restaurant business, that kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
You could be a king one day, and then the next day something bad happens, and you're gone. And I was invited by two of the waitresses to go to one of these places that had singing and stand-up. They don't even have those anymore.
Yeah.
Like for an open mic?
It was an open mic, but it was at a place called Ye Old Triple Inn, and they had stand-up and singing, and they were both singers. And I said, I'll go. And I had been writing my act in my head for 5 years. I mean, even though I was kind of lying to myself, I had the 5 minutes ready.
Right.
And it was a rough bar. It was called the Ye Old Triple Inn, and there was a dartboard, and the dartboard was on the same wall as the stage, and it was about 4 feet from my head.
And they played right through your first set.
You really needed to get their attention because you didn't want darts flying at your face.
Absolutely.
And I just remember that first everybody got quiet, so clearly I had grabbed their attention, and then I got laughs, and then at one point there was an actual applause, and I thought, oh, maybe I could do this as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't really do stand-up as a hobby. And
it doesn't work out.
It was really, I don't know. I was just going to do it twice a week, and then it was never twice a week.
So from the first time on stage, you just caught that comedy flu.
Yeah, I think that it was painful in a way, because once you find something that you're supposed to be doing, and it's going to sound very sappy, but I believe it's true. I think when you find that thing you're supposed to be doing, it's almost painful because you know that it's going to be a hard life, but there's no turning back.
Right.
It really was painful. I remember when somebody said, what do you really want to do? Maybe it was a therapist or something, and I just said, I want to be a stand-up comic, and I was so angry for the rest at that person and for the rest of the day. I was like, oh no, this is the worst choice anybody could possibly make. Horrible, horrible choice.
Nice.
And because in the beginning, I mean, it's brutal. You just have to show up and wait till 30 people go on and hope that you get on. And if somebody more important than you shows up, you don't go on. And it's a lot of that.
Now I know down here, I mean, there's almost an open mic almost every single night within the Tampa Bay area that you can get to. I think around here, getting on stage isn't that hard if you're just willing to get out there and be up until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, which that's the hard part for me because I have a career and I'm kind of doing the show and I do comedy as a hobby, although lately I haven't participated. It's been like 2.5 months since I actually have been on stage doing comedy, which is horrible.
Wow.
Doesn't that make me like a piece of crap comedian?
Well, it makes you not a very well practicing comedian.
I'm not I haven't practiced, although I think I'm going to redo a lot of my jokes. I'm going to start talking a lot more about stuff from the last show, getting a little personal.
Yeah.
How did you start off with comedy? Did you start off doing personal stories or just right out of the gate made up stuff and creative?
Well, I always did stuff that was gleaned from my life and, embellished a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a wealth of material to draw from. I mean, I was a divorced single mother and, opinionated and somebody described me as I don't suffer fools gladly. So that was a good formula. Somebody told me early on that if I speak the truth, my truth, the audience is gonna know it's the truth, and then they'll be with me. And to speak to what you just said, I mean, I had a rule in my head very soon after I started doing stand-up that I had to do 7 spots a week. So even if I was going to take a day off, I would have to go and sit through the worst open mics, the ones that like were at 5 o'clock and then one at 7. I mean, I would make sure I had 7 spots under my belt before I could have any time off. I had
Wow.
almost like an obsessive compulsive, and I never had that kind of drive or focus in any other career, in school or anything. But for some reason in stand-up, I took it very seriously.
Mhm.
And I don't know why. There was just this incredible drive to move through, and possibly because doors opened for me much quicker than they did in anything else I tried.
So
I was really lucky. I got TV like in 2 years of doing stand-up.
Wow.
So what was your first TV spot?
It was Girls' Night Out, which was this show that's very similar to Stand Up Stilettos that's going on right now,
Mhm.
but it was on Lifetime, and they had wonderful hosts. I mean, Andrea Martin hosted the one that I was on,
Wow.
so that was really incredible to have Andrea Martin.
Yeah.
It was really cool, and it shut my parents up, thank God. What are you doing with your life? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm on television. Watch me.
There you go.
Nice.
Now, how did that, after that first spot on TV, how did it take off after that? Did all of a sudden you start getting paid more at each gig, or right from there were you getting calls?
No, because doing Girls' Night Out meant nothing in the real world of comedy. And basically, if you were a woman with at least 3 good jokes, you got on that show. I mean, I don't want to make anybody who didn't get that show feel bad. I'm sorry if
Right.
if you didn't get on that show. But if you had 3 or 4 good laughs, every woman got on that show. I don't think comedians, maybe no one's told you this before, but it's a little bit of a boys' club. What we do, stand up.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you about that. How do you deal with that little stigma that goes with it? And I mean, because you're obviously very good. You've been doing it for a very long time now, and you're past the point of anybody being able to tell you that women can't do comedy, because obviously they can,
Right.
and you can. So,
Well,
how does it
because-
feel?
See, and I'll say this, and that is that I realized I could never say that I'm competing with women. Women have to be, in my book at least, that they are, like sisters. They're like, they're contemporaries. I have to be as funny as the guys.
Right.
Is sort of the way that I approached it. Nobody. If somebody says, you're one of the funniest women comics, it still to this day makes me like cringe. I'm like, I'm one of the funniest comics.
Yeah.
Well,
What are you talking about? You know what I mean? I pay my rent. I put a kid through college. I put another kid through private school. I must be doing something right. So it is important to me to compete with the boys, and not to say, that I'm in the category of a female comic. But now that I'm older, and I am competing, because I'm now competing with age and gender,
Mm-hmm.
I do sort of occasionally use the, it's an all boys club thing. The reason why I said that, doing Girls' Night Out, it didn't really matter. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Yes.
It didn't really matter because in the eyes of my contemporaries who were male, I wasn't impressing anyone. And then about a year later, I got Stand Up, which was on Comedy Central, and that helped. So having 2 of them, sort of, it took a while.
Right. So eventually, after you have a little bit of TV, then all of a sudden you do the Last Comic Standing. You have your 1999 the U.S. Comedy Arts Festival.
Right.
And
Comedy Arts Festival was way before the
right,
Last Comic Standing.
right. That
but-
was in 1999. Right?
Yeah. For me, though, I have to say, after I did these 2 TV spots, and then I couldn't get another TV gig. I couldn't get on TV. It took me another 6 years to get on TV again. I kind of hit a wall, and I'm not sure what it was. And so what I did was I spent like 3 months just going to comedy clubs and watching the comics who were getting on TV to try to figure out what I was doing wrong. And it all came down to one thing, and that was that I just didn't have a fast enough opening joke.
Really?
Okay.
I know that sounds minor, but it was that's all it was.
Well, they say if you don't pick it up with your first or second joke, you lose the crowd, rather quickly. It's hard to come back from that, they say.
Yeah, very
Mhm.
hard.
So, who were some of in the beginning? Did you have lady comics that inspired you, or was it just, everybody that you looked at? Was there any ladies that inspired you in the beginning?
Were there any ladies?
Well, lady comedians versus the guys.
Hello, lady. There was, listen, my idol, my mentor was certainly Joy Behar. Not just because she was a woman, but because we both started at the same age. You know, I think she was 29, and she was a single mom, and she was smart. She didn't just get up and do a dick joke. I had a lot of respect for Joy, and she was really well read. To this day, she's probably still a smarter comedian than me because she reads. She's very political and that kind of thing. But Joy Behar was very much a mentor of mine. I don't think she considers herself my mentor, but I consider her my mentor. And I looked up to Jeffrey Ross a lot because I worked with, I don't know why, but I was fortunate enough to work with him a lot. And he was further along than me, and he was very generous with his advice, and he gave me a lot of really good direction. Susie Essman was also very generous and will take my phone call to this day, if I hit the wall about something and, give me advice.
So when you say hit the wall, is it you're trying to write a joke and you don't know which way to come at it?
No, that's never been the problem. I'm a pretty confident joke writer. Mm-hmm. It's more just, how to deal with the industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember one time I called Susie Essman and I was like, I don't know, if I should take this gig because it just seems unfair. So-and-so got so much money and I didn't. And she just screamed at me. She goes, you were on 13 weeks of network television. You don't get in your car for less than $1,000.
Nice.
And when she said that, I was like, oh, God, you're right. And she's like, just say no. I said, but what if I can't pay my rent? She goes, trust me, just say no. And I learned how to set my price because of her.
Right.
That's cool.
That's great. It's good to have that. My price is, I'd be happy to get a couple of drinks and a steak dinner. I'll take chopped beef.
Believe me, we used to have. There were some gigs that they paid you just in a meal, but
yes.
We would judge it. I'd say, well, you get ribs if you do this one, but if you go there, you're just going to get like wings. Let's go to a place that you can get ribs.
There you go.
Good gig. You still have those addresses? We'll discuss that later on the show.
Well, you got to go up to New York for that, right? Is that did you started off everything in Manhattan and New York, right?
New York, and the other thing that helped me as a comic, I don't know if there's young comics listening, but it is as cliche as it may sound, I had to buy a car. Having a car made a huge difference. The first time I made a little bit of money, and I set aside $2,000, and I bought my first car, and that helped me an enormous amount because I was able to, drive to open mics where there would be a real audience. I didn't have to just do open mics in Manhattan. I could do open mics in Long Island. I could do open mics in New Jersey. I could drive to Connecticut, for $50, and I think that kind of direction made a lot more sense than me because I'm not all that friendly. Like I'm not going to hand out flyers in the mailroom and say, please come to my comedy show. I'm hilarious.
Right.
It's never been. It hurts me as a social networker because I hate writing on. If I'm on television, I'll say, at 4:00 in the afternoon, I'll say, watch me on TV tonight. Whereas, somebody else will talk about it on Facebook for 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. And I admire it. I totally admire it. I get so embarrassed.
Embarrassed?
Yeah.
Why embarrassed?
Listen, we live in this world now where you have to be an amazing networker. You have to market yourself. You have to be, your own PR agent. And I come from this sort of school of thought that it's like I want people to tell me I'm great. I don't want to tell people I'm great. You tell me I'm great.
Yeah.
All right. You want to earn their respect and then have them come back to you.
I do. It's not working out. Trust me. I'm sitting here waiting for the phone to ring.
What are you talking about? You were on the Let's Be Frank show. This is like the high point of the year.
Thank God you called to tell me I'm great. Otherwise, I wouldn't know today.
Luckily, it's only 7 days into the year.
If you look at it this way, you're continuing on a great tradition of great first of the year guests. Because last year when we started, we had Jackie Mason, and so this year we got you as our first guest of the year. So.
Oh wow,
I don't know if that's actually complimented.
He was very much. If you watch my stand-up, I think it's pretty obvious he was a strong influence.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. She does have that
There you go.
nice kosher girl sound to her during her
Yeah.
show.
Oh yeah.
He's an incredible, comic. I mean, he's just so funny.
He
Yeah.
wasn't.
He really is.
He was one of the first person I interviewed that actually said gracious things to me during the interview about how I did it. So I was like, oh, well, thank you very much, sir. And then, when he came down, I had interviewed him because he was coming down to the area to do a show. So when he came, and he stayed on the show with me for like 35 or 40 minutes. He stayed on for a while.
Yeah.
And then when I met him that day at the show, he was just talking about how much he liked it. And really, I mean, for a guy who's about 80 years old or so, full of life, fun. I mean, it was amazing to me to watch him be on the stage for 2 hours, and he never took a sip of water. You see guys, you see guys on stage and ladies on stage, and they're taking a drink after 5 minutes. And I asked him, "What's up with the drinks?" And he goes, "I'm just talking. What do I need to drink? Oh, I'm not sweating on the football field." So, because I don't know about yourself. Do you bring something to drink with you when you're in the bar or at a
No.
comedy club? You don't bring anything on stage?
No, but we always have a joke. Like if you're gonna have to follow somebody tough, you say I had to follow a big guy, and let's just put it this way: he had a towel, which means he was very high energy and not easy to follow. Every so often
Absolutely.
you'll be on the road and you'll have a middle act who's going on before you, and he's a guy that is popular in the area, and he's a big guy and he sweats and he's got a towel and he tries to make it hard for you to follow him, and you learn techniques, but whenever I explain it to another comedian, I'll be like, yeah, let's just put it this way: the towel was soaked.
Now, I am a very large gentleman, but I have not had to bring a towel on stage with me yet. Maybe I need to amp up the energy. I need. Well, with some of the new ways that my jokes are going, because I always just did fat guy jokes and a little bit of fat guy dating humor, where now I'm going to be getting into some of my past where, when I was a young kid and doing drugs and doing crazy stuff with my friends. So maybe I'll be a little more energy with that, and I'll have to bring a towel. I hope not. I don't want to be the big, fat, sweaty guy on stage. That would be horrible.
Well, I'll probably follow you.
Oh, if I was middle acting for anybody, that would be phenomenal. That's why I would need a towel from the excitement. I'm still the guest spot opener, lucky to be the MC sometimes. Apparently not in the last 2.5 months because I suck. So,
well, this is riveting. I'm looking forward to your return.
hopefully, I think by the end of January I'll have a new 5 or 10 minutes about all my old stuff, about all the old material that I want to write or my old life.
He'll be sure to Facebook it weeks on end before it happens.
Good.
I'm gonna do a joke on Thursday. It's bad enough that I blast my show once a week in all different comedy groups all across the country. Yeah. Some groups get mad. They're like, "How come you never talk to us?" I'm like, "I just want to post my thing in there and you guys watch me. I don't want to have to. I just want to handle it like Corey would handle it. I don't want to have to talk to you. Just listen to it and tell me how great I am."
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. I get some comments here and there. People respond and talk to me on the, they respond, but they're not cheering me on like I'm the rock star that I think I am.
Well, are you a middle child?
Absolutely.
So you're looking for some attention.
Absolutely. I am the middle child in a Jewish family, but the only fortunate thing for me was I was too fat. So I couldn't get my brother's hand-me-downs. They had to buy me all my own shit. Nice. So I got everything new where you have, normally when you're the middle child and you got an older brother, you get all the hand-me-downs. Couldn't do it. That was the only perk of being fat as a kid.
Well, you're really one to find the silver lining.
Nice.
So I want to ask you a little bit about some of the late shows you were on, because you've done the Late Show with Craig Ferguson, and then you've recently done the Letterman show too, right?
Actually, I just did Ferguson last month again. I did Ferguson six times. I've been on Ferguson.
That's awesome.
And They're very nice to me. I'm not exactly sure why, but they're, and I believe that's the reason why I got Letterman, because I did Ferguson like 4 times, and at that point I just put all 4 Fergusons on a tape and I sent it in, and I was like, listen, I'm on the show that's right after yours and it's on your network and you own it. So
I'm
could
already
you please
here.
just consider me? Because it was really, really hard to get Letterman for me. It took me I auditioned 11 times.
Wow.
And to the booking person at Letterman's credit, I bombed most of the time. So it wasn't really like they had much to go on.
Nice.
I think I wanted it too badly. And then when I finally did it, it was one of the few things in my career that actually lived up to the expectation. It was exciting. It was a rush. There was one of those. Every sentence got an applause, but it was crazy.
That's what I was going to say.
I
You could hear how well, because I watched it today, how well you went over on the show. It was phenomenal from the audience and the crowd, how well they took to it. It was great.
It was, probably just, it was a perfect storm. And we were, I was my age. Everybody in the audience was pretty much my age. And I spoke to the crowd I spoke to their sensibilities. And it was a very nice kind of closure, certainly on something that I had been trying to get for so long. It just goes to show you, if you put laser beam focus on something that you really want, you can get it. Now, I spent 14 years of laser beam focus to get Letterman. Had I put laser beam focus into, say, I don't know, writing a novel, I might actually, have an apartment that has 2 bathrooms now. I don't know that I always pick the right focus, but it goes to show you that creative visualization does pay off.
Right.
Absolutely. So I got a question for you. When you were done with Letterman, at the end of your set, David comes out to the center, and he applauds with everybody, and then he whispers in your ear. What did he whisper?
Well, he shook my hand, and he held on to my hand. I don't know if that's obvious in the tape, which was, I can't tell you how grateful I was, because I was shaking after the set. It was something that, you'd worked such adrenaline. I kind of needed to hold on, and he just held on to me, and he said audibly, very funny, but he leaned in and he said, great job. That's
awesome.
That's nice.
All right.
And it was very funny because Bill Burr, who did the show the week before me, emailed me after the set, and he goes, "You got very funny. That's huge," which was really sweet. And it means a lot, certainly coming from Bill, because it's somebody that I was in clubs with a lot. We saw each other. When he was in New York, I saw him probably every night that I performed. So it was nice to have that come from him.
Absolutely.
I really am more impressed with the approval of my peers, which is kind of a problem. I mean, I'm not great with industry. I'm not great with the audience. I just want comics to like me, which is, the comics are, they're miserable people. We're all adult children of alcoholics and child abusers. You know what I mean? So I don't know why
Only
I'm
the
so
successful
desperate for
ones.
their approval.
The successful ones are us somewhat normal people who can't. I had 2 parents
We're
growing
not
up.
normal, brother.
I can't make it work. Why didn't my daddy beat me? Dad, you should have beat me. I'd have been a better comic today. I wouldn't have to have a corporate job.
Well, listen, I made that joke, but then everybody yells at me and says, that's not true. Look at, Mike Birbiglia had nice parents. And, I don't know. I hear a lot of things that contradict my feeling about that. However, that said, my sense, whenever I go to like a party, like a holiday party in one of these comedy clubs, and it's a lot of comics sort of walking around, I mean, to me, it just looks like everybody has like a mild form of either Asperger's or ADD or ADHD or depression and, or, sex addiction. I don't know. Everybody just seems like they're a mess walking around. But then you put them on stage and they're magical.
Mm.
I think statistically, you're definitely correct, because most of the people that I talked to over the last year or so talk about a little bit of messed up backgrounds. But I need to know the person that you said had a sex addiction, and is she a female? Because I need to work with people that have sex addictions, because that could help my love life.
All of them, I unfortunately, were men. And when I say sex addiction, I mean they actually go to comedy clubs to get laid. They, you know what I mean? They
Wow.
when I
Nice.
say they do stand up to get laid. I think
Nice.
Conan O'Brien recently was interviewed. He said, most of what male comics do stand up for in the very beginning is to get girls' attention. I mean, they have nothing else going for them.
Pretty much.
It's definitely helped out. It's helped out my profile on Match.com greatly.
Nice.
I get more interest on Match.com.
Oh my God, you should see some of the people that get laid. You go to yourself, really? Well, he's a headliner. You know what I mean?
Whatever it takes, man. You got to take advantage of whatever door swings open sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Just make sure you got
It
your
doesn't work for girls, though. I have to tell you.
Yeah.
They've never been. There've been very few. I think once or twice in my whole career, someone's come up to me and like, "What are you doing later? You want to get a drink?" That's 20 years, folks.
20 years, and you've only had 2 offers to get some while you've been doing stand-up?
One was a colossally huge age difference,
Wow.
and the guy was very, very young, and like almost like hilarious. I wouldn't trust this kid with laundry. That's how young he was, and he was calling. And then once was a I was doing like this. I can't explain it. It was like a club where people go who want to relive summer camp, but like it's all singles. Oh my God, it was the craziest
crazy.
thing. It was like this place in Connecticut where people. It's kind of like Club Med, but it's
All
in
right.
Connecticut. And I got up on stage and I was like, you people all peaked in summer camp, didn't you? And you're trying to find it again. And
That's awesome.
that was the one. I think I got hit on by the bicycle instructor.
Nice. He
Yeah.
asked you to come back to his bunk?
Yeah,
just-
he asked me. Did
He's got the
You
top
kidding?
bunk, right? Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He had to come to my bunk because he shared a bunk.
Nice. So,
But
So-
that's just the it's much easier if you're lesbian. Lesbians get a lot of action.
Mm.
Unfortunately, that, again, a really smart career move would have been if I had gone the lesbian route. But I really have a lot of handicaps.
yeah. Imagine.
I sleep with men.
Yeah.
I'm
There-
looking for comedians' approval. If I was just a lesbian who was very good at marketing herself, I'd be a huge star.
Nice. So now you mentioned Bill Burr, somebody you saw a lot when you were in the city. Who else are some of the people that you, I guess, started with that are still out there today? I mean, is it like
Oh, this is really even more depressing. I started with Judah Friedlander, who's
Oh, wow.
on 30 Rock. Certainly, in my open mic days, a person I saw frequently was Greg Giraldo, and he's no
Wow.
longer with us.
Yeah.
And Gaffigan was in our sphere, but
Mhm.
Gaffigan had been doing it maybe a year or two before me. And I don't know if he's going to make it. I worry about him. But I'm trying to think.
You know how to spell his last
Of
name?
my
We'll look him up later.
school, that's who it was. It was
Wow.
it was Greg Giraldo. It was Judah Friedlander, me. That was our class.
Good
Cool.
company to be in, man. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, are there any favorite cities that you like to work in? Is there anything in particular?
Favorite cities? Interesting. Well, the only city that I think is, it's worth working in is New York City.
Yeah.
But that isn't to say there aren't some clubs that I really like around the country. Believe it or
right.
not, I love the club in Columbus. I really enjoy the DC Improv. I just don't do them anymore because I need to make a living. So I tend to do a lot of corporate and associations and award type fundraising type shows, and that's how I make a living. I do like the San Francisco clubs. I like the Los Angeles clubs. They can be okay. They can be fun.
How do you find preparing for the corporate gigs and different from preparing for a club show?
It's been actually a really fun exercise because I learned that I could work clean, and it was a tremendous sort of lesson that clean isn't just not saying the F word or the S word or the P word. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Clean really means you have to, like, you got to go before the line. And when you do a corporate gig, they don't just want it to be PG-13. They really want it to be PG. It's hilarious. Like, you can do innuendo, but you wouldn't even want to do stuff that they're doing in the 10 o'clock hour on television.
Wow.
And they don't want anything that is going to alienate anyone in the audience. Like, I did a joke about how we owe China so much money.
Mm-hmm.
The banks, and the bid is where what if the bank calls from China and they want their money? And it was, I had to do it in a Chinese accent, and I was told not to do that anymore. I mean, and it was completely clean. And it wasn't really, I'm saying, I don't think they're going to be offended, China or Chinese people, because I'm saying they own our country. I don't really think they're going to be offended. But you got to be careful.
Wow.
Just stating facts over here. China owns us. Just stating some facts.
It's very funny. And then everybody, there's certain things that you can get away with. I can't explain it. You can't make fun of certain ethnicities, but then some are okay. It's hard to explain. You just have to learn to work really clean. And I do a lot of gigs in Florida because I don't know if you know this, but there's a significant number of people over age 65 in Florida.
We have
And
noticed that.
I don't know if you've noticed. And I work Florida a lot, and they like jokes about sex. They just don't want you to say you just can't say the actual. You just sort of have to skirt around it. So I always yell at them. I'm like, you're so dirty, you people. You just don't want me to say penis.
So
Nice.
what parts of Florida do you come down to? I guess Miami a lot.
No, I very little in Miami. Miami's too hip now for my group. Miami's like Miami's like it's like Long Island now. It's everybody's young and hot and has great bodies. I'm more.
That's
in
why
the
I don't get any
Boynton-
gigs down there.
What?
That's why I don't get any gigs down there. I'm old and fat. I'm not
Yeah,
hot.
you have to be. Are you kidding? You have to be like super hot. You have to be Dane Cook down there. But no, I do Fort Lauderdale. I do Delray, Boynton, Boca.
Oh yeah.
That whole area. I mean, there's a lot of work. It's becoming the new Catskills for us.
Oh,
There
nice.
you go. And a lot of people don't realize how significant the Catskills were to comedy in the beginning. I mean, I was fortunate to grow up in the foothills of the Catskills in Orange County, but I mean, so many people, your Buddy Hackett's and that whole genre or that whole era started there. I
Hey,
mean, it was-
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Seinfeld, did the Catskills. Let's not forget that. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I saw billboards of Seinfeld at the Concord.
Yeah.
When I was driving on 17 in New York.
It was a great time. Unfortunately, the Catskills have fallen apart without all that hotel and all the comedians, and just that whole industry died in that area.
Well, it died because they couldn't get the license to do the gambling, and all the
Right.
gambling went to Connecticut.
Connecticut and Jersey, and now they have in the Monticello racetrack. Now you can do the video poker of all the different games, but it's all through video poker, no actual card games.
Yeah, and that doesn't appeal to the discerning Jew.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Nope.
The
But
discerning Jew wants to see, girls in a nice, uniform and, free drinks and, they don't want to see video poker.
absolutely not. It gets a turnout of people, but there's no entertainment like in casinos. I mean, the only thing they have there is a buffet. That's what people from Sullivan County, they want to go to the buffet.
Nice.
So, because there's still plenty of old Jews in Sullivan County
Mm-hmm.
and Orange
True.
County, and they go, but it would be nice to see. I think the Concord was actually, most of it was taken down. The Nevele, I think that burnt down. There's all sorts of craziness. It looks like a ghost town up there.
It does. The Concord, they are spending upwards of, I think, $200,000 a year to try to maintain the golf course because they want to sell it.
Mhm.
They're still trying to sell it. it's like weird. You drive through, this dilapidated area, and then all of a sudden you'll see the stunning property, and it's the Concord, but without the sign anymore.
Right, but
It's
now
very sad.
the golf course at the Concord, isn't it still part of one of the PGA tours? That's why
Maybe.
it was that quality of a golf course. It was there for a while. I don't know if
Right.
it still is, but it's amazing to watch things change. But those screwed up parts of life are what give Corey things to talk about on stage.
Definitely.
You know.
Is this interview getting depressing? Let's lighten it up. Come on. You want to talk about Downton Abbey? No,
Oh, there
don't
we
watch
go.
that, do you?
No.
I do not.
Okay.
I always
All
like
right.
how Craig Ferguson is so excited whenever he says anything about Downton Abbey. Have you seen it? Oh my God! But I don't watch it now, unfortunately. But
I was reading a little bit about Honey Boo Boo and her mom today.
she's not on
Yeah.
Downton Abbey, just so you know.
No, but I was reading about it because I guess people are worried about the finances. So she had to explain herself how she doesn't take any of the money, and all the money is automatically put into accounts for the kids that she doesn't have access to.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want anybody thinking I'm doing the wrong thing by the kids. And I was like, well, damn it. You're doing the wrong thing by just letting your kid be who she is.
Yeah.
Forget the money aspect with that girl.
But you know what? I can't even blame the mom. I mean, honestly, it's the Learning Channel. That's what they're putting on the Learning Channel. What are we learning? That you need to go to a dentist once a year? That's really the lesson.
Yeah, it is amazing what they have on TV. I should have a TV show by now. Bachelor Kitchen or something.
Listen, the worst thing you could possibly do in this stage is to try and make it through the traditional roots of show business.
Mm-hmm.
If you could possibly be like the funniest owner of a tackle shop, you could get a show. I mean, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much.
I used to be a catering manager. I mean, I could have been on a show called Cater Waiters. I'd probably
Nice.
be a bigger star if I had just stayed as a cater waiter.
There you
But
go.
no, I thought, no, I want to work hard. I want to pay my dues in show business. No. Now they want people who own a pawn shop. That they're
Yeah.
going straight to the top.
Yeah, that's incredible. Or you got to build
Oh, man.
motorcycles or now what about
whatever
those?
the auction, whatever storage wars,
Right,
and
you
storage
storage
wars.
units.
and-
Yeah,
Oh,
you
man.
you become a clutterer. I don't even, or a hoarder.
Oh man.
Yeah,
By the way, I'm hoarding episodes of Hoarders. That's how much I love that show.
Nice.
It is a filthy, disgusting show that sometimes I can't even watch the whole thing. Like I can't believe some of the stuff that they like. I was in this one house, or I was watching the show on this one house, and there was like 100 or 150 rats living in the house with
Nice.
the guy.
He was hoarding the rats
Right.
too.
And he was feeding the rats. Like
Oh,
he was
God.
happy to have them. They were pets. They would nibble on his toes, I guess. I don't know. It was.
Well, no, I mean, if you don't put your food in a garbage can and you just put it over the side of the chair, Quibbler, is that your name, Quibbles?
Gwiggy.
I like that
They
quibbler.
They just come up and eat it like kibble, Quibbles. Anyway,
So
well, since
so
we're-
that's the state of entertainment
Nice.
as it is right now. It's just kind of it's a funny time to be alive.
yeah. Well, since we're talking about TV, can we talk about some of the other shows you've been on?
Sure, go ahead.
Like, and I'm mostly curious about what kind of prep work went into some of these shows, like the Comics Unleashed with Byron Allen, and that show. Every time I turned it on, it seems like he's trying to do an interview to kind of get you into doing your own material, which is an interesting little show. And you're
it's
just
a
sort of
totally forced scenario, is
Yeah.
all I can tell you. I mean, you literally say, these are the setup questions that'll get me into my bit.
okay.
And that's how he wants to do it. And it's kind of entertaining. Sometimes it really works, and it does seem like it's an interview.
Yeah.
But that's so rare. I mean, when he says, so what do you think about Jimmy Carter, and somebody starts doing an impression, okay, I think that might be from his act, because,
Okay.
that's like
Yeah.
from 20 years ago. That it's one of the easiest shows to do. I mean, they're really lovely, and they just say, give us the setup lines, and Byron's going to hand them to you, and that was actually just a pleasure
Yeah.
You know, the shows that I had to work really hard to prepare for was definitely Tough Crowd, which I did a lot. I mean, you know, because it's 4 comics, and they're all comics that work the Comedy Cellar, and they're all, you know, technically they're roast comics is basically what they are.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you don't have something ready to go, you know, hard and fast and smart, because that's what I would have to go with. I wasn't going to go with insulting. I would have to go with hard, fast, and smart. That's how I stayed on the show.
Nice.
Now you were also on. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say politically incorrect was like that too. There was a lot of prep. Politically correct, you know, you're sitting there sweating because they don't give you the actual topics until like 5 o'clock the day before,
Oh, really?
and sometimes not until 10 a.m. the day of. So you're all you're doing is like desperately trying to write material in a very, very short time.
And you were on a bunch of episodes of Politically Incorrect, right?
Yeah, I did it 5 times. Unfortunately, the new show I'm really not famous enough for. He has the luxury now on HBO to use, you know, really, I mean, mostly the people are pundits. So, and I'm not a pundit. I'm really a joker.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I've come with, you know, with experience of doing the show. You can't always have the greatest people on. You want to have a celebrity on my show every single time, but it's just not going to happen. But
Sorry, folks.
Well, no, but you are a great you're a great national touring comedian with a lot of insight into comedy that you don't necessarily get when you talk to those celebrities. Some of the celebrities, you know, they still remember where they came from. You know, you talk with a Bobby Slayton, and he'll rip into you like he knows you 20 years. And
Right.
every time he's on the show, he's called in a couple of times, he treats me like I'm his redheaded stepchild son and just destroys me. But you know, then you get the times when you get to speak to someone like yourself who's been doing it 20 years and is well-versed in the industry and just has a lot of great insight into what's going on and the background of comedy, and you get to learn a lot.
Bobby Slayton, if you actually do ever sit down with him in a very quiet way, I mean, he has such an incredibly vast take on stand-up and the science of comedy. He's astute.
Yes.
You wouldn't necessarily think so. I mean, he's one of those people where if he's on stage and I'm in the vicinity, I go in the room to listen because I know I'm going to laugh. I'm probably going to be offended, but I'm going to laugh.
And it's funny. I saw him towards the middle of last year because he'd come down to do the Tampa Improv. So I went out to see him, and you know, we shook hands. It was nice to talk to him. But watching him on stage, I mean, sometimes I didn't know if he knew what he was doing because he's just going in so many different directions, and he's picking on gay guys and black guys and fat people, and just he harasses everybody, and then he makes sure at the end he goes back to that person and picks on them again before they leave the show. So I mean, it was very amusing to watch him, but I mean, he just runs around the stage like he's crazy, and it's very entertaining. I was impressed by how much energy that old man still has.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, he was an '80s comic. He was in that whole Kinnison, you know, let's go to my car because it's easier to do cocaine there because the light's stronger. You know, I really sometimes it kills me that I miss those days. You know, I started in '92, so I wasn't in any of those groups or clubs.
Right.
I guess it would have been fun just to have been there for like 1 year of the bad, naughty behavior that
just
was
a couple
all
of lines here and there, maybe
prevalent.
The only thing scary is though, if you were there in the '80s, would you have made, you know, some of the, like, would you have made it to the '90s? You could have gotten so far off the track because of the drugs. You know, it's kind of one of those things.
You know what? For me, drugs it's never going to take because I don't know. My situation is I don't like to do anything that enhances eating because I already have such a tremendous appetite. And when you smoke pot, it makes you want to eat. I don't need that. And when you do cocaine, as soon as you come down, it makes you're starving. I don't need that. So for me, it's always like fun to be part of it for a few weeks, and then I need to clean up. And maybe that's why I keep having children. Children always keep me clean.
And I see you have a big gap in between when you have your kids. You like to wait a couple of years in between, like 20.
Yes.
And what do you have?
Well, there's a 20-year age difference. My son is, my son is 8. My daughter's 28.
Wow.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of that is because I agreed that we should try to have a second, we should try to have a kid, my second husband, because I really didn't think scientifically it was possible. And but I didn't realize about my husband was that he used to play hockey, and those guys, they shoot, they score. It's really simple. And I was shocked. Even my doctor was like, "What are you using for birth control?" And I said, "My age."
Hey, just be thankful he didn't give you a hat trick. I mean, that would have been really.
I'm going to pretend that I know what that means.
3, basically. Sorry
3 points. You wouldn't have wanted triplets. You would not have any time to do comedy or holy cow. Could you imagine having triplets after 20 years? It's got to be hard enough just with one after 20 years. You're like, shit, I'm wiping asses again other than mine?
Oh, triplets, forget. They would have had to put me away.
Anybody want to adopt 2 kids? We got 3. I do not need this many.
Well, because I'm an older mom, and some of the women that are of my generation, they all have twins because they had to do it, with assistance from technology. Mm-hmm. You with me?
Yes.
And so this happens constantly. My son will be friends with one of the twins. Then I have a birthday party. I can't invite just one of the twins. I got to invite both these twins. And guess what? These twins show up with one gift. Now, paradoxically, when my son gets invited to their birthday party, I got to bring 2 gifts. It's a ripoff every which way with these twins. These people don't know how to act. I want to go. It's not my fault that you had to have doubles. I only want one of them to come to the party. It's such a nightmare. I love when I see families and they have 2 kids of the same sex and they're very close in age, and then they have the baby in the stroller, and that they were gambling to get the one. If they have 2 boys, they were gambling to get the girl. Mm-hmm. And sadly, a lot of people have 3 boys or 3 girls, and you just want to go over to the table and go, "Oh, gambled and lost. You rolled the dice, huh? Too bad."
It's so scary. I'm 40 years old, and I couldn't even. I mean, I've never been married, and I don't have any kids. I don't know. I'm like, wow, 40. Maybe it's too late. Maybe I'm done.
No, not for guys.
I don't know. Yeah, but I gotta have the energy. I don't want to just dump everything off on the wife.
You'd be surprised. Kids give you a lot of energy. Kids give you. You're not too old.
No, maybe.
Again, it's just like anything in life. If you put laser beam focus into, finding.
He has some laser beam focus in the practicing of the making of the kids, not necessarily the after effects of that said making.
Yes, I have a huge.
Actually having.
I own stock in Trojan.
I would say he has laser beam focus in part of making the baby, but not the, he's not going all the way.
Not the after effect, yeah.
I just want to practice.
Well, listen, Frank, you want to tell you the secret? The secret is you got to find somebody that you find remotely attractive, right? That's the first thing. You try to find somebody that's you are remotely attracted to, and then just settle. That's it. That's the secret to finding.
Screw love, screw emotions, just somebody you could deal with, whatever. You'll do.
Seriously. I mean, you're going to end up, okay, so it doesn't work out, then you go with somebody else. You're going to have the same problems with each person. Try to pick somebody that you find attractive. And that, you don't want somebody that, has a terrible temper, something like that. But other than that, everybody comes with baggage, and you just have to, at your age, you got to accept a lot of baggage. You got to be looking at steamer trunks and rolly bags. You know what I mean?
See, this is the exact opposite. I always thought I had to find somebody that was willing to put up with me or find me remotely attractive. I thought that was the problem.
That's asking a lot.
Sure. I mean, that's the low self-esteem approach.
That's why I put up the fake bios on Match.com and use pictures of my friends when they were younger to steer girls in.
Right. Yeah, but you don't have to. You're a guy, and you're 40, and you're single. That is enough in South Florida to get some serious action.
It's funny. I've never been fatter, and I do pick up more girls than I ever did. I'm fat, I'm 40, and I'm employed. That makes me like prime rib.
And you're not married. Absolutely.
Women should realize that fat is the way America is going. Just find out how popular I am now. Join the Fat Davy Brigade.
Well, seeing how employed isn't the way America's going, but still.
Yeah, well, I'm
No,
still
just
employed. I
you're
haven't lost my
That's
job
good.
yet.
That's
I'm,
what you got going
I
for you.
know.
I'm employed.
Are you
and
kidding?
hell yeah. I obviously eat enough for 2 or 3, so
Yeah.
I have room for, like, I could pay for someone else's food.
Nice.
He's like Ashton Kutcher.
And where's my Nikon?
He looks like he ate Ashton Kutcher. Just so you
Ate
know. No.
Yeah, I need my commercial now. My Aston. He had the pop chips and Demi Moore and Nikon cameras. He's got everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny when he got that first Nikon commercial. I was laying in bed with my husband, and I turned to my husband and I go, I could see why people find him attractive. And he's like, "Oh, you're just coming to that now?" And I said, "Yeah, but you know what? I'm always late to the party. I get it now. I see why they find him. He's easy on the eyes. I always discover everything late. I just discovered Depeche Mode. I'm always late."
So, Corey, we are actually getting ready to end an hour. Can you believe it? The
Wow,
show goes by
it's
pretty
been-
quick.
It's been great. And to everyone listening, and I'm so glad that you were able to spend this time with Frank and me and Quibbles. It's been special. And, people can follow me on Twitter. This is one of the greatest things, because this one I will actually promote, at CoreyCajones.com.
All right. Now, you said...
No, it's not. The Twitter's just at Corey
At Corey
Cajones.
Cajones. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And how often are you on there? Do you tweet every day with people?
I tweet every day.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, do you still update where you're going to be on the Corey Kahaney
No.
website? No?
No.
You
I
just
have
all
no
Twitter
time for
all
that.
the time?
No. I want it to be a scavenger hunt for people.
Nice.
All right. If you want to do a scavenger hunt with Corey Kahaney, visit her on Twitter. And
You're
now,
somewhere
you
in
don't-
this country. You too can see Corey Cahaney.
and you can get there from her website if you can't remember
Yes.
anything else.
That's right.
And because it's not Corey Kahaney, it's at Corey Cajones, or yeah. How are you saying that again?
Well, I have a bit of my act about how nobody could ever get when I worked in restaurants, nobody could get my name right because it was Cahaney, but they would call me Mr. Cajones.
Okay. And
So
you're
it's Corey Cajones. It's Cajones. Pretty
There you-
easy.
There you go. I'm going to follow you right now.
I
You
just
probably
did.
won't.
All right.
You probably won't follow me back because nobody ever does. I'm a loser. But
You're not a loser. You said people constantly send you messages. You just don't respond.
I'm just trying to make myself sound bad so you look better.
Oh, all right.
I want you to be the high life. I suck. I'm only halfway decent at interviewing people. Did I have any ums and uhs in there today?
Probably.
Probably. First
don't
day
know.
back after 3 weeks.
You gotta shake a little of the ums and ahs off. It's okay, no problem.
How did I do, Corey? Am I anywhere
I
near
thought
as...
I didn't hear any ums or ahs.
Am I up there with David Letterman, or I got a couple of weeks to go still?
Well, I wasn't interviewed by Letterman yet. Oh, good. That'll give
There
me
we
something
go.
to focus on.
Laser
That'll give me
focus.
my next goal is to get on
Laser
panel
focus.
with Letterman.
There you go.
Like, there we
So
go.
you didn't
All
get
right.
to sit your ass on the couch. You only got to do your stand-up.
Correct.
That's the goal.
There we
is to-
go.
you need your butt cheeks to land where all the other movie stars and comedians' butt cheeks have been before.
And it started
That's
right
true.
here on Let's Be Frank.
Let's be frank, everyone. Have a fantastic 2013. I need
You
to go
too.
watch TV.
All right. Thank you very much for
Thank you for
spending
being
some
here.
time with us, Corey. You had a great time. And I'll send you a copy of the show in case you want to send it out to the millions and millions of the Kahaney fans.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. You
All
have a
right.
good night, and we'll speak to you soon.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.
So that was a great interview.
That was fantastic.
We were going to close out the show with that.
Yeah.
Everybody, check out.
Glad to be here for that one. That was pretty cool. So
Definitely. And my show, sir, we're moving on. We've come to the end of another edition of the Let's Be Frank show. To catch up on past shows, find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Podomatic at Let's Be Frank's Podcasts. Want to be part of the show? Email Dave at Let's Be Frank with DaveFrank@yahoo.com. Stay funny, my friends. See you next week.
That was another fine show from ComedySlamRadio.com, where we put the .com